Hello there. I am in my backyard garden. I'm reading from the Bible. Today I'm reading from the book of Luke, the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 14. In chapter 14, it begins by talking about Jesus heals the man with dropsy, and then goes on to talk about humility and hospitality. Then the parable of the great dinner, the cost of discipleship, and then chapter 14 finishes up by talking about salt. Okay, but before I get started, I want to talk just a little bit about what you see in the video today. What I'm showing you, like off to the right, the purplish blue flowers are bachelor buttons, and I think that they are soon to be finished. The foliage is looking a little bit worse for wear, but there are still a few flowers that haven't opened up, and they are a beautiful splash of color in the garden. And then to the left is a chamomile plant, and this plant is amazing. Each day I harvest maybe 3/4 cup full of chamomile flowers, and then the next day I do it all over again. It's prolific. It just keeps on going. What we do with the chamomile is dehydrate it, and I dehydrate at a low temperature so that they can retain their the most nutrients can be retained by using low temperature dehydration. And then what we use it for is to make tea. Chamomile is a nice tea to have in the evening because it's a nice calming tea. Okay, enough about the garden. Back to Bible reading. Today I'm reading from the book of Luke, the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 14. The reading begins. On one occasion, when Jesus was going to the house of a leader of the Pharisees to eat a meal on the Sabbath, they were watching him closely. Just then, in front of him, there was a man who had dropsy. And Jesus asked the lawyers and the Pharisees, "Is it lawful to cure people on the Sabbath or not?" But they were silent. So Jesus took him and healed him and sent him away. Then he said to them, "If one of you has a child or an ox that has fallen into a well, will you not immediately pull it out on a Sabbath day?" And they could not reply to this. When he noticed how the guests chose the places of honor, he told them a parable. When you are invited by someone to a wedding banquet, do not sit down at the place of honor, in case someone more distinguished than you has been invited by your host. And the host who invited both of you may come to you and say, "Give this person your place," and then in disgrace you would start to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down at the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, "Friend, move up higher." Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. He said also to the one who had invited him, "When you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or rich neighbors, in case they may invite you in return, and you would be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. One of the dinner guests, on hearing this, said to him, "Blessed is the one who will eat bread in the kingdom of God." Then Jesus said to him, "Someone gave a great dinner and invited many. At the time for the dinner, he sent his slave to say to those who had been invited, 'Come, for everything is ready now.' But they alike began to make excuses. The first said to him, 'I have bought a piece of land, and I must go out and see it. Please accept my regrets.' Another said, 'I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I'm going to try them out. Please accept my regrets.' Another said, 'I have just been married, and therefore I cannot come.' So the slave returned and reported this to his master. Then the owner of the house became angry and said to his slave, 'Go out at once into the streets and lanes of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame.' And the slave said, 'Sir, what you have ordered has been done, and there is still room.' Then the master said to the slave, 'Go out into the roads and lanes and compel people to come in, so that my house may be filled. For I tell you, none of those who were invited will taste my dinner.' Now large crowds were traveling with him, and he turned and said to them, 'Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not first sit down and estimate the cost, to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to wage war against another king, will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes against him with 20,000? If he cannot, then while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace. So therefore, none of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all your possessions." Salt is good, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? If it is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile, they throw it away. Let anyone with ears to hear listen. Here ends the reading of Luke chapter 14, the Gospel according to Luke.